So, welcome back to Pon's Tinkering Garage. And as you might have noticed that something's new, and yeah, I've got a webcam. Look at that, how fun is that? So you can see my face while I'm talking. And yeah, since I've got a webcam, and I think I'm just gonna start a new thing. Because you see, the previous tutorial, the previous course, the tailor's approach to cloth sewing and glitter, the thing about it is that it's great. I mean, like, that's a great course, but you see, the thing is, it's kind of, even though that it's a live demonstrations, meaning that I do things and while I'm talking, but however great that is, you see, it's still scripted, even though that you may not see it, but it's actually a scripted thing. The things that I read has a prompted text on a docx document, a Word document, and yeah, I mean, like, that's great for course to have that kind of a structural thing, so that I'm not just blubbering around. But yeah, so I've done that, and just to get a little bit of fun, and so I'm just gonna create a new thing, a new format, not a new thing, just a new format, to make it, literally unscripted. So it's literally not just a live demonstration, but it's actually live speech, So, which is gonna be challenging actually, because, my brain is kind of split in half. One is for doing art, and one is for talking, which is not the way I usually do it, because I'm not usually, when I work, I don't usually talk too much, but this one is going to be a little bit different. So yeah, I hope that works very well. And so yeah, just let's get it started. So okay, let's go to our blend file, and this is a pre-made set. I've got, the sets. We've got the lighting, we've got the camera, and we've got the room, and we also have a model. And yeah, so first thing, the project for this series, just I like to give titles to my course so that I can, it's kind of structurally sound. So for this series, I'm thinking the title is gonna be Finding Athena. And yeah, that's kind of mythological. Yeah. So Athena, as you may know, is a goddess. And the reason why I make Finding Athena is because I actually, you see, I'm making a very secret add-on, and which is gonna be released very soon after this thing is finished. So and that add-on, when I'm working on it, I'm thinking that it might be a great idea to have a mascot, some sort of thing, and I think so. The other day that I've got an idea to put some sort of this pagan goddess into my add-on as a mascot, and the reason for that is simply that, you see, Athena is kind of it's not a very specific goddess. I mean, like, if you read Wikipedia and go to any ancient Greeks mythology, that it's kind of you know, kind of a goddess. It's very much like Hermes, that it's a goddess that has lots of following from many, many uh, categories. I mean, like, yeah. So I'm thinking that Athena might be, you know, a good fit because, you know, like Zeus is like this very specific role as a god. So, which is kind of really, which doesn't really fit very well. So, yeah. So I'm thinking of Athena, and because she's a goddess and she has kind of lots of dominions, and I think that's kind of interesting. So that's the introductions, and so let's get it to the next part, I guess. Yes. Yep. Okay. So now, okay, just like I've seen, I've got the scene set up, and this is actually my base models, which is a female, as you can see. And by the way, that it's not a very safe for work. It's just a little bit of a notifications before you watch the entire series. It's not safe work video because, as you can see, it's a nude model. So yes, with that warning ahead, just think about it and whether it's a good time right now. Is a good time to watch it. If it's not, just pause it and you go back to your home and whatnot, and you can watch this. So yeah, this is my base model, which is a female base model, and you might be thinking that, well, it's actually already good, right? I mean, like, so what's you gonna do with it? So yeah, so it's actually a base model. It's not finished yet. So, and base model is actually a good idea. I mean, like, if you don't have a base model, I think you're gonna need it because you know, base model is important for several reasons, and the first reason is actually, I mean, unless you because there's lots of ways to use the 3D applications, but if you're doing lots of rigging, lots of animation, lots of pretty much anything that deal with human form, you see, if you don't have a base model, what you're gonna need to do is you're gonna have to create a new model every time you have created a rig, which is kind of annoying. I mean, like, yes, for the first 1 or 2 or 3 rigs, it's gonna be kind of easy, but once you've done like dozens of rigs and models, you will start to think that it's not a very making a new model every single time is not a very great way to do it. Not a very, at least not a very efficient way to do it. So that's where the base model comes in, because base model provides that base. I mean, like, yes, I mean, it's already a sound model, and that's a very much ready animation and game ready asset because it's already UV edited. It's already as you can see, it's already have a UV maps figured out. It's already have a shading. It's already, which is that it's a, yeah, again, it's a nude model which is already been mapped. It's already been shaded, and you just need, and you're very much like 50% of the job is kind of done by having this base model, and that saves a lot of time. So you should have a base model, and for this tutorial, I think I've provided this base model, my very own base model, in the description below. You can check it out, and For now it's kind of free, but I'm just gonna put the price on my Gumroad link to be kind of empty. You can get it, you can just give it 0 if you want it for free, but if you like what I'm doing and you like to support what I'm doing, please consider to, to give some number other than 0 on the box. So with that being said about the base mask, let's do it. Okay, now, so here's the thing. So we're gonna start with the head, because that's kind of important, the head. So, okay, now I'm just gonna open my reference. Again, you're also gonna need a reference for this, and I'm not really sure. I don't think that I can share the reference because I'm not really sure, because it's it's photographs of paid artist models, and I'm not really sure how the licensing thing's working out. So I'm not gonna share the pictures in the recording for now. So yes, however, you still need if you want to make it your own, you should have a reference, and preferably it's a live model. Not live model, it's a photograph of an actual human model instead of a a drawing, because drawing is great, but there's just some sort of a great thing about seeing an actual model, because they just can give you the the things that you may miss in your drawing. So get a base mesh and get a reference, and I think that's really good to start. So yes, so the next thing that we're gonna set up is actually, as you can see, that my model has already names in it, and it's called Athena body mesh with nips level 1. Yeah, it's with nips. I got a version without the nipples, but I'm just gonna use the ones with the nipples, because the thing is, it's so much easier to remove things instead of adding things when it comes to 3D models. So I'm just gonna create the ones with the nipples, and if I don't need the nipples, I just can hide it. So yeah, so back to the topic, that it has the level 1 in it, and the reason for that is because I'm not gonna use multi-res. As you can see that I already have multi-res, and I don't think that I'm gonna use multi-res for this, because multi-res is great, but it's not the best way to do it, because it's not a very exportable kind of thing. So what I'm gonna do is actually, I'm just gonna duplicate it and rename it to level 2, and I'm just gonna delete the multi-res, and I'm just gonna apply the I'm just gonna apply the subdivision, so that we get 4 times the amount. As you can see, I need statistics on. As you can see that the faces for this subdivision, they kind of quadruple, because they gonna cut or divide each face into 4 extra face, and that's what we're gonna need, because we need more geometry to start sculpting this thing. So yes, I'm just gonna apply it, and there you go. You got a nice clean model without modifiers. We've got a nice zeroed out transform, and yes, we are actually very ready to go. So okay, now let's just go to sculpting, and we're gonna just start with with it. Actually, just gonna turn off the wireframe, and yes. So the thing is, I'm not going to be fancy with it. I mean, I'm just gonna use these clay strips for the entire series, probably, and yeah. Okay, now we just need to turn on the X, just checking in if it's working, and it seems to be working. And yeah, let's do it. So, for Athena, I'm thinking that uh, uh, I'm thinking of, the thing is, if you ever know anything about a Greek mythology, is that Athena is kind of a fierce goddess. So, and that's kind of ironic, actually, is that if you look through internet and you see a modern depictions of Athena, especially in the arts, you will most likely to see this kind of cute goddess, right? I mean, like, they look very young, they look very, thin and whatnot, and I don't know. I mean, like, I just want to stay true to the mythology, so I'm not gonna make the Athena to be cute, and being cute is like the last thing that I want to do with this mascot, with the Athena mascot. So yeah, I'm thinking, actually, as of right now, I'm thinking a strong features, like very, very strong. I mean, like, because Athena, you see, is also, she's not the goddess of war, as we know that the god of war is Ares, but Athena is a very warlike goddess. I mean, like, she she's involved in lots of war, and so I want her to be that, to represent that very ideals. So I'm just gonna make her to have very strong features, to show that, a little bit of symbolism, that she's not cute, she's kind of have a strong features. So the first thing that I want to do is actually to create a very strong cheekbones. And hang on a minute, I'm just gonna flipping through my reference, and it also helps a lot to have a matching reference. So I mean, like, if you're thinking of buying a reference packs, something like that, make sure that it kind of fits your very need. It fits the thing that you have in mind. So if you're thinking of making a very strong female character, well, you should buy the packs which includes the model that kind of closely resemble to what you have in mind. So that's what I have right now. The model that I have as my reference have this kind of masculine kind of features. She's got a very prominent features, but there's also a little bit of a, she still looks feminine enough to be seen as a woman. I think that's kind of important, because you still want her to you still want the model to identify as a female. So yes. So now I'm just gonna working on the cheekbones. I want it to be just the correct definitions. It's so yeah, and also the jaw, actually. Okay, just sculpting things out, and yeah, for some of you, you might be thinking that it's kind of a lame thing to see, sculpting things, but yeah, and I kind of agree with that. So, uh, yeah, but however, there's, I mean, like, from my experience about any kind of art, the best art endeavor, I mean, like, mostly it's like 90% boring stuff and 10% useful stuff. But the problem with that, and you might be thinking that why can I why can't I just reduce the the video to be showing just the important thing? Uh, yeah. The thing is, I've thought of that, and actually that's kind of a good idea. But the problem is, sometimes it's, skipping things over. Sometimes to get that 10% useful stuff, you need to kind of skipping through the 90% of boring stuff, and that's kind of a, because you see, how am I gonna put it? Actually, I'm still kind of thinking about it. I think that's the, okay, this is, I'm forming the sentence. I think the best way to say it is that sometimes that 10% is kind of hidden in that boring 90%, and that's kind of probably why, because I can cut it, but some of you may not be able to figure out what's important for you, because again, what's important for one person may not be so much for the other. So just by cutting it to just the useful stuff, I don't think that's a good idea, because what's useful is kind of different for each individual. So yeah, that may be the way to put it. Now, yeah, as you can see that I've got the cheekbones, okay? As you can see that I'm creating this very strong line from the cheekbones, which is here, and then the edge of the mouth, which is here, and as you can see that it's just a pure line, and as you can see from the top, it's very strong shadows. I can just, and the thing is, the trick for sculpting realistic human form is that you should be bold at first, because the thing is, you can always smooth things out, right? I think it's very much the same with any visual medium like photography and painting and sculpting, is that you can always smooth things over, but you cannot really sharpen it. I mean, like, that's the way to see it, I guess, because you can always make it sharper, but to make it you can always make it smoother, but to make it sharper, it's gonna be so much harder. So make it very, very sharp, and then you can always, smooth things out later in the process down the road. So yeah, I've got the cheekbones done, and just to balance it, I also did the jaw thing, because it's gonna be very odd to have very strong cheekbones but not a strong jaw. So I also add a little bit of jaw, and yeah, this is a little bit of tricks to make the jaw looks realistic, is that not to make it very sharp from edge to edge like that, what you want to is to have this smooth around this part, this below the ear, and you will get that extra stump. I'm not really sure how to say it, bony structure below. So you got that smooth, and then you get sharp, this thing around the jaw, which is kind of the way to do it, because it's very, very rare that people have strong jaw all the way down. So yeah, now let's check it out from the front. That's looking good. Now maybe I'm just gonna pull this back out. Okay, cheekbones, and okay, now let's see from the front. Okay, now I think it's kind of good. It's kind of looking cool, but I think that this is good. This part, this dimpled part is good, but I'm just gonna smooth it out around this cheek area so that they don't really looking drawn too much and long. So you got a little bit of variations. Yeah, doing it, and you get that kind of, okay, that's looking good. Maybe a little bit of smoother around the jaw, around the dimple, this part thing. Okay, let's see my reference, and yeah, that looks like it now. Okay, you will see now that we have smoothed the cheek area, you will see this classical angle here, and then here this sharp angle, and then you get this curve around the cheeks, and that's what you're aiming for, you know, to create a realistic face while maintaining their strong features. Okay, now I'm just gonna add a little bit of volume to the cheekbone, just rounding it up, and yeah, that looks great actually. Now the next thing that I'm gonna do is actually to start doing the, okay, maybe a little bit about the mouth, lips, and yeah. Okay, now let's do about the nose, because that's kind of important. So for the nose, just like what I did with the cheekbones, I like it to be kind of strong. I mean, like Athena is of Greek origin, so I'm thinking of the Greek nose, which is kind of stereotypes kind of thing, and which is you know, very flat from top to bottom. I mean, like if you see ancient depictions of the goddess or any gods in ancient Greeks, you will notice that most of their gods have like kind of a helmet-like nose, something like this kind of thing. So like that, and however, that may look great from the side, but it's not a very realistic way to do it, because now she just looks like an alien. So yeah, I mean, like the Greeks just idealized their gods to have a very straight nose, but well, it's not the way to do it realistically. So that's where we come to to more realistic depictions of Greek nose in, you know, like David statue, and you will see that you still see that it's kind of straight nose, but it looks natural. You know, it just looks much more natural, and that's what I'm aiming at. You know, to have flatter profile of the nose, but they still maintain a good believability. That's what I'm aiming, and yeah, that's kind of good. They still have that dimple around the bridge, and then they've got this strong nose. So yeah, now let's do the eyes. Let's do this groove around the eyes, which is what we have. So yeah, but first I'm just gonna put a little bit of I'm just gonna smooth this groove around the outer eye, because just to create a little bit of contrast between the outer, because the inner will have this kind of a very great groove around the nose. So for the outer eye, I'm thinking of more of a smoother profile, and that's what I'm doing. Just smooth things out, and probably I'm breaking the geometry. So let's see. Okay, that's the cause. You see, the thing about sculpting realistically is that you should not defy the topology of the base mesh. You should play along with it. That's the way to do it, because once you're kind of breaking the geometry, it's not gonna look good. I mean, yeah. So yeah, just smoothing it out, and that looks okay. Maybe now let's add a little bit of curve to the eyelid, a little bit, and yeah. Now maybe this is a good idea to add a little bit of slits for the eyelid, just a placeholder, because we don't really have enough geometry to make a very defined eyelid. However, we can just use a little bit of placeholder to signal where it should be in the next stage, next level. So yeah, okay, now it's almost look very round, which is okay and great, and we're just gonna smooth it out a little bit, and yeah, now we got the groove inside the nose, inside the eyes, the inside of the eyes, and we've got this groove, and we're just gonna create that classic line from the nose bridge to the under of the eye, to the, yes, what's this called again? The under eyes, the lower eyes, eyelid, probably, I don't know. Yeah, so I'm doing the same for the lower eyelid. I'm thinking of smoothing it out before, because this is going to be smooth and this is going to be very groovy, and yeah, just to give a little bit of nice contrast for the design. And sorry, okay, add a little bit of volume to the eyelid, back and forth, just checking in whether it looks good or not. Okay, now that looks kind of good. Okay, so needs to be a little bit sharper to give a good base for the nose. And yeah, let's now do the nose. And yeah, so I'm thinking that I may need to make it a little bit narrow, just to get that very kind of strong stronger bridge from top, from the forehead portion, sorry for that, of the nose down to the tip. So I'm just gonna create that groove. Again, this is not a groove, so just to give that middle section, this one, a very strong and contrasty kind of visual. So yeah, make groove again in here, just to get a nice and strong profile of the nose. And yep, that looks a little bit too much. Okay, maybe that. Okay, that looks great, I think. Now we're just gonna add a little bit definitions to the nose. And yeah, now we're gonna deal with the actual nose, the tip of the nose. Gonna add a little bit of roundness around the, I kind of forget what this is called, and yeah, whatever that is. So we create a little bit of groove again inside this duct, the connection between the nose and the cheeks, to create that. Anyway, I mean, like, if you really need if you really need to make the sculpting to be anatomically believable, I think the best thing that you can do right now is actually to learn a little bit of anatomy, because that's kind of important. Because yeah, I mean, like, you should, I mean, like, if you're thinking of making sculpting that looks like natural, at least very close to natural at least, you should consider getting, you know, to know anatomy a little bit more. So it really helps a lot just to know the proper anatomy, because if you don't, you're just like treading on a thin ice actually. So yeah, now we create this bob around the nose. I'm thinking of a very sharp nose and sharp tip, so I'm creating a little bit of groove in there, this one, so that we can create a very strong nose. Maybe a little bit too much. And yeah, that's looking good in profile. And maybe it's kind of inverted actually. This should be something like that. Yep, that way. Now it's really strong. I'm just gonna smooth it out a little bit, and that's the way we create a nice bob. So I'm just gonna make it a little bit rounder so that it's not too pinch. They don't look way, you know, pinchy kind of around the nose. Smooth it out, and let's create that groove below, because you're gonna notice that some nose has this kind of a this kind of thing. From the front you get that nice contrast, and yeah. Okay, that's looking good. Now we just have to turn it into the nose, inside the nose, and yeah. And probably some part of it is gonna be, you know, quick things up. Just to quick things up, I think that some part of this video is gonna be a time lapse. So yeah. Okay, that's a very strong nose. Okay, that's looking great actually. Now, just gonna create a flatter profile around there so that you can get that W kind of sorry, I cannot usually use my annotation, so just to create that W kind of shape around the nose, so you can get this tip of the nose dimpled in, but you need to, you know, smooth things out as it goes forward to the mouth section. And yeah, okay, that's looking great. That's a very strong nose. So the next thing that we're gonna do, hang on a minute, just gonna add a little bit definition to the cheekbones. Yeah, that's looking correct. A little bit up. That looks great. Yeah. Okay. Maybe this one needs a little bit of fine tuning. This part. So that, okay. Because this one is already the cheekbone, the cheeks, which is the fleshy, the cheeks apple, some people call it. And yeah, from the side it should look like it goes from this and then go there, so it creates that, because this is the masseter muscle, this is the bridge of the cheekbones, and the masseter goes from the cheekbones to the jaw, so this is the part of the masseter, and that's what I'm aiming at. And probably it needs to be pulled out a little bit, so that creates a better volume around the masseter, the you know, that thing, that muscle that basically pulls your lower jaw together, and so that you can eat, you know. That's the functions of the masseter. Okay, that is looking great actually. A little bit of dimpled. Okay, that is looking great actually. Let's smooth it out and add a little bit. We still have to add a little bit of the cheek, the cheeks apple, so that it connects to the bottom. This should create a line, this. So first you got this, and then second you got that, and you got dimple here, and that's what we're at least I'm aiming at, to create a better, more realistic shape. And okay, now I have just to thin the apples a little bit, and yeah. Now let's do what's the next thing that we should do? gonna thin it out. I'm just gonna make the eyes, the lower eyelid, a little bit smoother, so that kind of slide into the, you know, the cheeks. And yeah. So what should I see? Probably this one. Create a groove, a little bit of groove, and groove around here too. So you create that double groove look. Very subtle, but that's the way to do it. Now that's looking good. And what's next? Oh, the mouth, the lips. And okay, let's do it. This thing still bothers me. Okay, that's look better. It supposedly go from here to here, and they go here to form that, and yeah, that looks better. So let's create the upper part of the lips. First, I have just to do this bridge between the cheeks and the mouth. I mean, like, you should have, the trick is to have a very strong separation here, and then slowly smoothing out as it goes towards the middle of the mouth. So that's what I'm aiming at, and yeah. Okay, that's looking good. And next we're gonna create a little bit of groove around the here. And okay. Also here in the Cupid's groove, that classic groove on top of your lips. And okay, just give a little bit definitions to here and cutting it out. Now I'm subtracting, so I really just want the middle part to be a little bit forward, and then kind of full in the middle, and it slowly flatten as it goes towards the what's this called? I forgot. And that's what I'm doing actually. And also smoothing it out so that it creates a smoother profile. So it goes from here, and we can just make it a little bit thicker on the top part, and probably can use the move tool. So okay, so you're gonna pull it back, pull it forward. Okay, that's looking good. Now looking good. Pull it a little bit backwards, and you create that classic look of this. I kind of forget what this is called. This area. Okay, but you know where it is, and so I think that's what matters. And now let's deal with the lower lips. I'm just gonna smooth just like what I did. I'm just gonna smooth the edge, and then gonna make the middle part to be a little bit more prominent, a little bit fuller, and yeah, that's what I'm doing. And Yes, I also need to shape it a little bit better. Okay, now that looks like, okay, let's see from the profile, it's actually great. Yeah. First, I think I'm just gonna have to put this down a little bit so they kind of create an S curve for the lips. It creates a better curvature. Okay, now that's a good looking lips. I know that sounds kind of wrong to say it, but yeah, what the hell. It's a recording, and I don't really plan to make too many adjustments to this. I'm just gonna record and probably a little bit of editing and whatnot, maybe a little bit of time lapse so that I don't kill you to boredom seeing me do all this thing in one sitting. So, but other than that, I don't think that I'd like to make too many editing, because editing is kind of not my thing, and it takes a lot of time to edit a video. So I'm just gonna publish this as raw as possible, so that I don't spend too much time just trying to do the editing. So yeah. Okay, that starts to look like an actual human head. Now, so here's the thing. To check how good it looks, you can just use an actual lighting to set the scene, so that you can see whether, just to check the shadows and the whatnots, and see if you're on the right track. For me, it looks great already. I mean, like, maybe the upper lips is a little bit way too big. Okay, where is it? Ah, okay. So I'm thinking of reducing it. Let's see the wireframe, and let's see the shading. Okay, that's the problem. So I think I'm just gonna move this part down, just to make the upper lips a little bit thinner around the edge, but it still maintains a fuller profile at the middle, in the middle. Okay, that's actually great. See from the side. Okay, that's great. Maybe just a little bit, maybe I'm thinking of pulling it a little bit downwards still. Just a little bit. This one, pull it down. Maybe the upper part too, for a little bit. And okay, let's recreate that Cupid look. Cupid's bow, sorry. And let's see what happens. Okay, that's looking better. And we may be able to, smooth things out later. It's a little bit too sharp around the groove. Maybe a little bit of okay, now is it great? Maybe it's a little bit too sharp, this part. I'm just gonna pull it a little bit down, and this one a little bit up. Okay, let's see from the side. That's actually great. Yeah, see again. Now that's looking better, a little bit more natural. Okay, next that's looking great, and we just have to clean this up a little bit. Maybe this a little bit bottom. Okay, that looks better. Now let's deal with the rest. Just gonna smooth this out, and let's do with the temples. You see, this is the big thing that people kind of forget, is that our forehead is not a flat piece, so they kind of have this shape and a little bit groove here. They start from the top and then they end just at the end of our brow, so it goes from your hair and down, and that's kind of things that people forget when it comes to forehead bone structure. And so you may be aware of that, so you can create a better looking, at least more accurate forehead. So okay, now let's give a little bit of a groove around the, no, that's too sharp. Okay, now let's create, I think this needs to be a little bit flat around the brow. So yeah, smooth it out, and yeah, that looks better. Pull it up backwards a little bit so that they don't, so the forehead doesn't really pop out too much. And okay, gonna smooth this out. Make it a little bit flat. Yeah, make it a little bit going out. So let's check the anatomy, the topology. Sorry that I forgot the words. And yeah, that looks cool. A little bit wider, so that, yeah, that's cool. Okay, that's cool. Now, okay, maybe this a little bit more groove around here, so that you can create hey. Okay. Okay, that's looking great. Make it to backwards and make it a little bit. Okay. Anyway, there's some great tips to how to smooth things out. So instead of just using shift to do it, so maybe it's a good time for me to start my, I mean, maybe it's a little bit too late, but yeah, it's still the face. So instead of just using shift to smooth things out, actually the better way to do it, if you want to retain the detail of it, but you still want it to look smooth, is actually to sculpt it in the other direction. So the main direction is doing this. So to smooth it out, you can sculpt it this way. As you can see, now that this part is smoothed out, and yeah, that's kind of great tips. So that's what I'm doing, and add a little bit of definitions to the forehead so that because that's the thing, I mean, like, most people think that forehead is kind of a, you know, like this flat piece of bone. Meanwhile, actually it's not. I mean, like, it's a very it's very not flat. That's what I'm saying. And yeah, so okay, that's the forehead looks okay for now, and maybe a little bit smoothing out there. Okay, a little bit. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's looking cool. Maybe just a little bit arrangement here. Okay, now that looks better. Okay, now let's move on to the temple. This is the temple, and it's actually kind of simple. Actually, you can just add a little bit of this, because the temple is really just kind of a fan, like because this is the bone, right? And the temple's muscle is basically just this kind of fan like kind of muscle, so that's basically what we should do, but it's just make it a little bit smoother. So yeah, let's create that fan like thing, and also that, just to smooth it out, I'm just gonna create that loop and probably smooth it out so that you don't get too gritty with it, and add a little bit things to the brow, and yeah, that's looking great actually. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, no, yeah, that's actually looking great. Now I'm just gonna create a little bit of a curvature around the masseter so they don't become this round. So okay, a little bit protrusion around the zygomatic bone, that is your cheekbones, and okay, let's see my reference, and she's got a very smooth, supposedly smooth protrusion. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of flash around here. We just go to the nose, a little bit softening too, wouldn't hurt. Okay, that's the groove. You're gonna see me a lot doing that. It's basically cross hatching, but it's in sculpting. That's kind of cool technique to help you control the sculpting, and which is cool, and you should totally learn that. And yeah, see, now that's good actually. Now maybe just a little bit, maybe that the let's create a more flatter profile from this, from the lower eyelid to the cheekbones area, so that it creates a better, smoother profile. So that's what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, a little bit more, just to give her a little bit of flashy cheeks. A little bit of that wouldn't hurt, just to create a better silhouette overall. Okay, now it's a little bit too forward. Now we can just fix it later. Okay, now that's kind of cool. Okay, you can still see the cheekbones here, which is kind of, that's what I'm aiming at, so that we can still see the cheekbones, but it's not too sharp, if that makes sense. And yeah, maybe this, so I think we're gonna keep it sharp here, but it's smooth around the edge, just like what we did with the lips. Okay, now how's that looking? Let's see from the, let's switch to the, okay, let's switch to the shaded mode, and that is great looking thing. Yeah, now we just have to, okay, what else? Maybe that's something that I kind of forget. Probably just a little bit around the sculpting around the ear. Probably this is not very important steps, but you know, it's just nice to sculpt the, you know, the ear, even though that most likely that the ear is going to be covered anyway. So yeah, it's not very important, but it's a nice thing to have, nice thing to do, just to make sure that you don't spend too much time in the ear area, because that's not gonna be the main thing. So don't spend too much time sculpting the ear. So yeah, I'm just gonna roughly do this, and just to give it a little bit of a rough detail, so that it's not like flat, you know. So because the thing is, it's kind of a little bit of dilemma actually, is that between, if you have a very small polygon face counts, it's not gonna deform very well if you're trying to pose it. But if you add polygons to it, you subdivide it, and you create a better, a bigger amount of faces. The problem with it is that you end up with a better deformation, but it has it's kind of, if you don't sculpt it, it looks very flat and cartoony. So that's the, you know, the dilemma of it. So you're kind of, that's basically what we're doing. It's basically just add enough information just to make it not look plastic, you know, because if you don't add enough information, it's just gonna look like a doll, plastic doll practically, and that's the last thing that we want. So yeah, and yep, that's cool. Okay, that's the ear, and that's good enough. So yeah, you can see it from the side, and maybe this is a little bit jaunty here. Okay, now that's better. Let's look at the shaded view, and that's looking great. They have very strong features, and I like it. Yeah, so